6:1-6. Talk about Jesus going back to Galilee. He was talking in the synagogue, and the people recognized him as Joseph's son now. So he's a carpenter fella. And because of that, couldn't do much in there. Only heal a few people. But you know, the real scene is this. People always ask you if you're qualified to say what you're saying. No, Jesus wasn't no rabbi at the time. He wasn't no leader in the Jewish synagogues. Nobody knew him as a teacher. He was known as a carpenter. They're like, is he qualified to say that? No matter how powerful he was speaking, no matter the words that he was saying, it was true. And the thing I just want to say is we need to always open our hearts to people and listen to the message that they say. Because really the message that is more important than the actual person. Because sometimes we asking if them qualified to say anything, even though what they say is true. I just saying. These people, Mark 6:1-6. Talk about.
All right, blessings and peace to everybody, first of all. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. And I started off just with some couple local things in my country. Just people exercising. And Mark 6:1-6, which some of you don't understand because I'm speaking in Trini. But the basic part of it is when people kind of know you or think they know you, and they think that you're not qualified to say what you're saying because of your situation or whatever, they generally discount you. And as a result of that, they miss the message. And we don't need to be like that. We need to always listen to what somebody's saying. Don't judge them based on who they are or their status in life. We need to judge people based on what they actually say to us. So a Gunt came out and said that, Henry Cavill's Superman, was too dark. And Superman is a bright character, brighter than Henry Cavill is. And I've had this criticism for a long time. And it's so funny because there are many Superman comics, and they say the comic Superman is not like that. There are many Superman comics I can go through. There's a few of them I just shared with you there, the covers of them, that show that Superman has a lot of versatility, and there's a lot of scope to Superman, at least in the comic books. So many things have been not only done to Superman, but also so many things Superman has gone through and experienced and done. And so the more important thing about Superman and what makes Superman so intriguing to this day are the adventures that Superman goes on, the journeys that Superman has gone on. Zack Snyder carried Superman through a journey and carried us through a journey where a very realistic journey where Superman grows. And what's so beautiful about Zack Snyder's Superman is he kind of goes from the Golden Age Superman, or should I say pre-Superman, to the Golden Age Superman, to the Silver Age Superman, to the modern Superman, and sort of covers the span of 75 years of Superman, which is really beautiful. The trilogy that he's done so far covers that. And then, of course, the other two movies would have covered Superman even evolving further. What I love about Zack Snyder's characters, and I think a lot of you who appreciate Zack Snyder's stuff will either you consciously or subconsciously don't know, is the characters continue to evolve. They continue to develop and grow. And that's what carries a story along. And not to say that Superman's moral principles have ever been different. It's just that the way how the world reacts to him, the way how he reacted to the world initially, the series of choices he made, his commitment to be a guide to mankind. All of these things and his recommitment to it help in the story of Superman, and that's the thing that I like about it. It's not basic. Yeah, I'm going to stop right there and I'll go on to something else. So this is Superman in many, many comics. Superman stories are generally serious stories. They are not filled with gaffes and humor and laughs. It's not a Marvel MCU story. And why am I saying all of this? It's because, well, you'll see. Here's Henry Cavill. Josh Whedon, who was a Marvel director, he was the director for two of the Avengers stories. I believe it was the first Avengers movie. And then Avengers Age of Ultron. I believe Joss Whedon was fired after Avengers Age of Ultron. And WB picked up Joss Whedon to complete and basically reshape Zack Snyder's take on the Justice League formation as well as Superman. And it was a disaster, right? Now, before Josh Whedon had done a take on Superman, we also had Bryan Singer, who did a reincarnation of Christopher Reeve's Superman in Superman Returns. His take was a lot more serious. It wasn't as funny as the typical Christopher Reeve story. But he also, a Marvel director for the X-Men, etc., he also failed to make box office for Superman that was viable to continue the franchise. Along comes Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill. And interestingly enough, Zack Snyder's take on Superman is the only take on Superman to this day since Christopher Reeves and Richard Donner did Superman 1978, and then Richard Donner was kicked off of Superman 2, and Richard Lester continued it, but Christopher Reeves was the star in that, and Richard Donner done all of the principal photography, and Richard Lester had finished it off, kind of like what Joss Whedon did to Zack Snyder stuff. Fortunately for Richard Lester, he didn't really have a whole lot more to do. A lot was truncated off the movie, but he didn't have a whole lot more to do, and he kind of spruced it up, made it much more funny than Richard Donner wanted it. And Richard Donner was fired from the project. This is the man that did the heavy lifting for Superman 1. He was fired, okay? And to this day, Warner Brothers will never acknowledge that Richard Donner was fired on Superman 2. And that's just completely left out. And the nostalgia over a Christopher Reeve Superman is still, retardedly so, is still being pushed by the studio. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. What Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve did in the first Superman was revolutionary. It's the most amount of money Warner Brothers ever made in any comic book movie and in any superhero movie, period. It's probably the highest grossing, when you count for inflation, probably the highest grossing superhero movie of all time. Okay, it was revolutionary what Richard Donner did at that time. I'm not saying it's revolutionary. It's not, absolutely not. But at that time, it was revolutionary. Richard Donner made a man fly and made you believe he was flying. And the techniques and the types of cinematography that was implemented in that era was revolutionary. Now, what is sad about this whole thing is the worship of Richard Donner, even though he was fired from Superman 2. And you need to understand why worshiping idols is different to worshiping ideas. and worshiping virtues. And why I started off by speaking about not worshiping the messenger, but listening and paying heed and honoring the message. What the producers of Richard Donner did to him in Superman 2 set a precedent that Warner Brother Pictures does to this day to their creatives. You want to honor a creative, you don't give them superlatives. You let them cook. You let them cook because it's the messaging that the creative wants to bring out. That is the important thing. It's not the creative. They worship Richard Donner and they worship Christopher Reeves. They do not worship what Richard Donner wanted to do in Superman 2. They do not worship what Richard Donner was doing in Superman 1 and continuing in Superman 2. Richard Donner started off Superman 1 and there was some humor and stuff in it. Yes, no doubt about it. But he was building up to a deeper dive into Superman. And I will continue to maintain this till the day I die. That Richard Donner was not satisfied with the Donner take of Superman 2. In no way or shape or form, that was the movie he was making. So those of you talk about the Donner cut, the Donner cut, the Donner cut, the Donner cut's not the Donner cut. That's not Donner's cut. He had to use available footage, bring back available, and he wasn't even the editor. He was working with another guy. He wasn't interested in the project. The other guy tried and cajole him into it. Which is a travesty of creativity. And remember, we're dealing here with creativity. Yes, movie making is a business, but it's a creative business. Okay. So here we have some shots of Henry Cavill. This is Henry Cavill in BVS. He's on the Wireworks, and then he's in the Cape. And something that I listened to a bunch of ignorant fans speak about was, the color palette, as if there's such a thing. The color palette is so dull in BVS, and the color palette is so dull in Man of Steel, and the color palette is so dull in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay. And then when they see a picture, a behind-the-scenes picture of Henry Cavill's suit, BVS, Man of Steel, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, they're like, no, you spruce that up. That's not the color. Zack Snyder likes dull colors. The color palette. They like to use the word color palette, which is so stupid. It's not funny. It shows how ignorant they are about movie making. It's called color grading. It's not color palettes. Anyway, and that's a big thing. Okay, that's a big thing. All right, it shows me that you're ignorant. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. So these are behind the scene photos of Henry Cavill. This is Henry Cavill, in the scene where he's about to meet Alfred in Zack Snyder's Justice League after he flies to find out what the League wants of him. And this is the color of the suit that he was wearing when he goes in to see Alfred. And yes, it's a very regal looking, very rich colored suit. It goes without saying. Of course, the cape came in with CGI. And yes, that is the suit the studio wanted Zack Snyder to do. And of course, Zack Snyder very cleverly had set it up so that he could actually shoot this and in post convert it to the black and silver suit, which he did, which was brilliant. Zack Snyder's very subversive. But yes, this is the BVS suit. And you can see the colors pop on the suit, and it actually has a glisten or shine on it. And yes, this is the Zack Snyder Justice League suit, which has even more shine on it, because underneath is a certain shiny material, which they can then convert into the black suit that you saw on screen in post. It's really quite clever. Here's Henry Cavill again in that suit. This is, I believe, BVS once again. It looks that way. No. Actually, that's Zack Snyder's Justice League. My bad. That's the top of of the uh, the place where Steppenwolf was hiding, where he had the mother boxes in the background, and that's where the Justice League was standing up at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League. But this is BVS Henry Cavill here with the beautiful blue suit. Those of you who are enjoying this, don't forget you can smash the like button. I have a lot to say, and I'm going to try and get it done because I feel like this is the time to talk about it. Here is again Henry Cavill in BVS, and again, a very beautiful suit, I have to say. It's extremely beautiful, rich in color, and of course, Zach would sort of he didn't want them to. Okay, so even though this suit is very rich in color, and you can see even the background, the graffiti, and everything pops, but Zach color graded it so that it looked more gritty and more real world. Because you don't want colors popping like that. That's Marvel-like. And even though the quality of the cinematography, the quality of the materials is clearly there's a lot of money was put into that. You can see how well rich these colors are and so on. You have to understand you had to get a certain environment and scenery. And the way how Zach color graded it, certain things popped on the screen and certain things did not pop on the screen. And that's just elaborate cinematography. Again, this is Henry Cavill. This is back in Man of Steel, actually. And you can see the Kryptonian behind him there, a guy who's going to be in a Kryptonian suit. And how do we know it's Man of Steel? Just look at the belt area. That's a Man of Steel suit. So you can see all the suits were beautiful, rich, kind of blue, popping gold, and so on. The colors popped. Okay, so it wasn't about the suit and all this bullshit that they talk about. It was really the truth is the cinematography highlighted certain things and didn't highlight other things. And when Zach is trying to do, you remember Zach doesn't really do realistic movies, right? You look at 300, that's an epic. Zach does a lot of epics, but it's not really realistic. It's based on a comic book, right? When you look at Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, it's a grounded movie. It's very grounded, but it's not realistic in any way, shape, or form in the terms of zombies don't exist and so on and so on. But he grounded it. When we look at movies such as Owls of Ga'Hoole, again, very grounded movie, but again, it's a fantasy movie. You look at Sucker Punch, that's probably the least grounded of all the movies. It's like you're in a dream all the time. But it's your anime dream. It's your anime wet dream. I mean, you're gonna love the anime in it. You're gonna love the storyline too, which is beautiful. It fits into anime, deep themes, but it's basically anime, right? When you look at his Watchmen, again, Watchmen is not as grounded, actually. There's a lot of excessive movements. It's a period piece. It's probably the most grounded movie that Zack Snyder has done, as he said so correctly, is Superman. Superman is probably his most grounded movie ever because it's as realistic as it gets. I mean, you had real world companies and real world personalities and people in that movie. BVS, the same thing. Zack Snyder's Justice League, not as grounded because you're dealing with aliens and things from another world, but venues and places, like the terrorist thing that happened, they're real. Okay, so the point I'm making though is that to create a grounded world, just like how the Russos did the Winter Soldier, and if you look at the Winter Soldier movie, to ground it in reality, I'm sure the costuming for the Winter Soldier, the colors pop just like Henry Cavill's colors pop. But when you're doing a color grading, you want to make people take certain things seriously and have a real world feel. You color grade to create that gravity. Every punch feels real, every shot feels real, every accident and collision feels real. You want to have that, and in the Winter Soldier, you had that. Captain America, the first Avenger, you had that. Iron Man, the very first Iron Man, you had that. And you don't want the colors popping too much because that distracts from the action. It distracts from the story that you're carrying forward. And besides that, there's always, there's already this tremendous, um, you know, uh, stereotype that comic book movies are not to be taken seriously, that comic book movies are not serious. You look at The Dark Knight, you look at Batman Begins, you look at um, The Dark Knight Rises, you will see once again the color grading to give a real world environment, and different producers. Look at the Batman. The Batman also has color grading again to emphasize the seriousness of the moment. Otherwise, trust me, they already looked goofy, okay? But the Riddler goons, which they're so not realistic. Like you would not take sniper pistols. A whole bunch of you have sniper pistols on top of a pavilion and you're sniping people. I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, yes, you're going after somebody, but you wouldn't have a whole bunch of, goons. That's all they have. So it's already unrealistic. So to ground it, you have to make them look and feel real. And, Matt Reeves was able to pull off some of that by the color grading and even the lighting. He wasn't trying to, have the movie well lit so you could see every action and everything that was happening. In fact, he did a sort of subtractive effect. And he became very minimalist, allowing light to sort of depict action. So, like when they were in the tunnel, and Batman, and, you saw the gun bullets firing all around the tunnel, and in flashes where Batman was taking them down. It was an effect he was trying to create using the lighting. So these are all because if you were to just see the action, it would look very boring, kind of like the action that happened in uh, The Dark Knight Rises. It was quite boring and repetitive. And even though Christian Bale was doing all the stunts, or most of them, it didn't come across that flattering. Kind of came across dry. And the reason that happened is because, again, how you shoot the shots and the angles. And Zack Snyder's really good at angles and shooting shots a certain way and so on. He knows how to get action. He's an action director. He really knows how to deliver action and also tell a story while he's delivering the action, which is something that Michael Bay doesn't do. And that's something that I don't really appreciate Michael Bay for. Michael Bay really is, in my opinion, he is an action porn star. He likes to porn action. What I mean by porn action, I mean just a lot of proliferation of action. And sometimes the action is too excessive, and sometimes you can't track the action. And something about Zach I like is he's able to keep it at a distance where you can track the action. And because for Zach, action tells a story in and of itself. And as much as I like, The Rock from Michael Bay and a few others, Michael Bay did that thing with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. As much as I like those movies, and they're somewhat grounded, they're not really grounded. They're Hollywood films. I really don't see Michael Bay as this great auteur director. I don't. I see him as an action director. They always try to slap Zack Snyder into category with Michael Bay, and there are people who are Michael Bay fans. I really don't. I'm going to be very honest with you, brutally honest. I really don't deem Michael Bay as any great director, and I'm not a director. I'm just saying. Okay, I just don't. He had some good action movies. The Rock was one of them with Sean Connery. His first Transformers movie, I still couldn't track where the Transformers were going. Um, a lot of detail he has, but the detail is not focused detail. See, when Zack Snyder does detail, it's focused. There's a theme behind it. There's a reason why he's doing it, and multiple reasons why he's doing it. You don't get that with Michael Bay. I just don't see Zack Snyder to me as a director and Michael Bay as a director. They're two different classifications of director, and quite frankly, I don't think Michael Bay is anywhere on Zack Snyder's level. I'm sorry, I just have to say that. And I really feel insulted when you compare Zack Snyder to Michael Bay. I don't care if they went to the same school. I don't care. All right, and Zack Snyder's just a different level of director. You just look at how he uses his camera angles. You look at how he uses slow motion. You look at how he uses the technique of double entendre while in action scenes. Okay, that's one movement, uh, one action scene represents so many different things. I will never put Zack Snyder in the same category as Michael Bay. Please stop doing that. It's very insulting. I don't care if you are a Michael Bay fan. Don't do it. Okay? Please stop it. All right. So, continuing onwards here. See, this is symbology here. This is symbology. He's lifting up a rocket. It's just, come on now. Y'all gotta stop with the. I mean, some of y'all are fans of certain people, but oh God, man, you gotta oh, come on now. Come on now. It's a whole different level. Look at the shot, man. Look at the shot. Michael Bay don't do these stuff, man. Come on, man. Don't insult our intelligence. It's not Michael Bay here. Michael Bay don't do that stuff. Michael Bay don't do this stuff. Look at the swag. I mean, come on now. You gotta stop that. Y'all gotta stop that. Zack Snyder doing above and below, all kinds of shit, man. Come on now. Come on now. You gotta know when you seen a comic book in front of your face versus I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, I'm gonna keep it with Zack Snyder stuff first, and then I'll go into other things. Oh, look at this! Look at this poster. This was made by literally made by a fan. Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. This is a beautiful poster, and I just want to highlight, just the amazing work of fans. Look at the detail. Look at the motivation, huh? And this has to do with, of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. This has to do with the apocalyptic future. Oh, look how beautiful this is. All right. This was also done by a fan, by the way. And this is just glorious. Look at this. That is Darkseid there. And there's Superman there. Oh, man. It's gorgeous. That's a fan did that. And by the way, I shared this, and it had 550 likes, 91 91 retweets. Okay, and listen to the conversation here. Listen to the okay, some of the conversation is probably retarded. Let's just see. So this Gunt, obviously he's a Gunt. He says, nah, I'm not going to restore the Snyderverse. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. July 11th, you'll get the real answer. We won't be denied. All else will flop. Restore the Snyderverse. Well, we already know what's going to happen. And so another Gunt comes up and says, look, I bet on July 11th you'll be crying. Don't worry, little baby. You'll just keep dreaming about something that will never happen. Sorry to say, but no matter what you guys do or say, Henry Cavill will never come back. Now, how many times have we heard this with the Snyder Cut? Like, for real? Man, y'all are serious losers. You know your movie's going to suck and it's going to flop. I mean, come on. And I said, you said that for Blue Beetle, The Flash, The Suicide Squad, they all flopped. And so the day of reckoning is coming. Oh, people can't wait to just not show up for that movie. So many DC fans ain't going to show up. We already know what it's going to be. We already know the writing's on the wall. We know Guns cannot produce the output that is necessary to have Superman even make back its budget. They say the budget is $225. It's not going to make that. It's not going to make $225 million. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter. You'll say it's $225. We all know it's $363. We know the Flash was over $300 million. We know what it was. But anyway, that's besides the point. The point is, y'all going to fail. We already know it. You don't have the numbers to back you up. I ain't no Marvel fan gonna go watch that movie. I'm telling you that right now. Ron Thomas says that's the most boring shot of Superman versus Darkseid I've ever seen. Sure, dude, July 11 can't come sooner. Not only that, but that's not even a shot, motherfucker. That's actually somebody doing art. That's how stupid they are. Now, this brings up a question. Darkseid's Omega beams don't stop till they hit their target. Does Superman count as the target in this image, or is it Superman's heat vision that's the target? And if it's Superman, will the beams just stop once Superman is done using his? And so I answered him. I decided to answer him. If they do if something as powerful intercepts them. Yep. So if you shoot some beam and it intercepts those Omega beams and hits them, well, obviously it hits them. But usually they cannot be intercepted. In this case, the artist is proposing they are. This is a fan made, of course. Restore the Snyderverse because it's inevitable. I mean, there's so many fans that want to see Zack Snyder Justice League 2. So many. In this case, this fan is involving not only the characters that Zack mentioned, but also the mentioning also, as you can see there, some of Wonder Woman's enemies. We got Reverse Flash in there. We got Black Adam. I'm not sure. I think this is looking like a lantern of some kind, you know. And we have even Black Canary, and so they're actually using the DCU here. Shazam is in there. You know, they put everybody in there, which is kind of interesting. Of course, there's a lot of people said restore the Snyderverse. This guy said restore my life. I said nah, it doesn't need restoring, but after July 11th, yours will, but we will restore the Snyderverse. I'm just saying, man. Man calls it Death Universe and he laughs. I said yours is dead on arrival. DC's already dead. We already know this. Like, y'all ain't really, like, y'all never learn. Like, a lot of these guys just never learn. You know what I mean? They just never learn. My boy Vinny been killing it, man. He been killing it. He been posting up video after video after video, which is awesome. Dahia Knight says Snyder means huge profits that WB hates. Warner Brother with a budget of $363 million. Zack Snyder with an iPhone in his backyard. I mean, the quality is so much different. You know what I mean? It's astounding. Now, you guys may say, well, why am I spending so much time on the Snyderverse? And why am I talking about Henry Cavill's Superman? And why am I talking about this? Well, let me summarize this as simply as I can, okay? I'm going to summarize this as simply as I can. We have dumb fans who are not fans of DC. They're gun fans. And they ask some of the dumbest questions ever. So here's a dumb question, for example. John Baker says, the downgrade in quality and tone is insane. And he shows Zack Snyder's Justice League here. And then he shows what James Gunn is going to be. These are the posters for James Gunn's Superman movie, okay? And you will notice that something is missing. Now, the thing about this is this. James Gunn put up a poster talking about the metahumans are coming to the screen. He showed Superman and he showed Crypto. And James Gunn, in his point of view, he thinks that metahumans are basically super-powered beings. Right? So that's metahumans. That's what he considers metahumans. But DC, for years, considered metahumans as human beings which had superpowers or had the meta gene. All right? Now, clearly, Crypto is not a metahuman. Neither is the robot, the Helix. It's not a metahuman either. Okay? I would say that it's possible because Green Lantern has a ring, and that ring gives him powers. Yes, you can consider him a metahuman because Green Lantern here, this Green Lantern here, is a human. Hawkgirl is, well, in, I believe, Black Adam, Hawkman was a human who had enhanced abilities. So, based on that, Hawkgirl here would also be a metahuman. However, if she was a Thanagarian, she would not be a metahuman. She would be an alien. She would have come from outside of this world. Therefore, would not be a metahuman. Captain Fantastic, he's also a metahuman. But Superman is a Kryptonian. He is not a metahuman. Just like our Wonder Woman is an Amazonian goddess, she is not a metahuman. Now, some people will argue, well, metahuman can be used in a general sense to be superpowered beings. Take, for instance, in BVS, when Lex Luthor was saying that, we have the metahuman hypothesis, right? However, DC does not subscribe to that. DC, and you can go ahead and go through comics and stuff, you will see that DC, at least in terms of comics, uses the word metahuman to mean humans with enhanced abilities, whether it's powers or whatever. Okay, so Flash would be a metahuman. Aquaman would be a metahuman because he's half human, half human, half what do you call it? He's half human, half Atlantean, right? Cyborg would be considered a metahuman. Now, Superman and Wonder Woman are not metahumans. Now, even though Lex Luthor talked about the metahuman hypothesis and even referred to the Kryptonians flying in the sky as if they are metahumans, Superman is not a metahuman. All right, in DC. In DC, Superman's an alien. He's a Kryptonian. Wonder Woman is an Amazonian. They're not humans. Now, they like to say metahumans are those with, humanoid qualities, but with powers. And this is what this is where James Gunn is coming from. But he's actually expanded the definition of metahuman. Metahuman is generally humans with extended abilities. So Superman is not considered a metahuman. And Wonder Woman is not considered a metahuman in DC, that is. But again, he can do whatever he wants. I'm just saying, if you're going to say that, be comic book accurate, or don't be comic book accurate. But you can't claim James Gunn is comic book accurate, and then he's doing things in opposition to the comic books. Like, for instance, James Gunn says Superman never kills. There is nothing in the comics that points to that. There's nothing in the comics that points to that. He's taking a common misconception about Superman. Superman doesn't have a no-kill rule. He's less likely to kill than Batman and Wonder Woman, but he doesn't have a no-kill rule. The one who has the no-kill rule is Batman. All right? Batman has a no-kill rule, which he still violates all the time. Okay? So Wonder Woman doesn't have a no-kill rule either. So when James Gunn is using as the focus of his movie that Superman does not kill, he is once again going against canon. So you can't say that he's the most comic book centric guy. His superdog, Crypto, looks nothing like Crypto of the comics. Behaves nothing like Crypto of the comics. Okay? His Superman movie has a lot of jokes, and he thinks he's reviving the Christopher Reeve model and that is not true. Like I said before, Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve, we're looking to have a much deeper dive into Superman. I'm going to say this so that everybody hears me loud and clear. Warner Brothers has tried multiple times to employ MCU directors and Marvel directors to portray their DC movies. And for some really quaint reason, they have not gotten the memo that all three directors have failed to depict DC characters on the screen as the DC going audience that watches and supports these films expect them to. Which means there is a disconnect by the executive of Warner Brothers repeatedly through the years in understanding who their audience is. And they are making, once again, a tremendous blunder with James Gunn on this. James Gunn has admitted himself he is not as familiar with Superman and the Superman lore as he was Batman. And the reason he's not as familiar with Superman as he is Batman is because, like all those Marvel fans and all those Marvel wannabes and all those so-called real DC fans who don't know DC at all, don't read the comics, nothing, they know about Batman because Batman is one of the most popular DC characters because Batman has been in film and has successfully succeeded in film. So they got into Batman. Meanwhile, the ones who really are faithful to DC, who actually watch the comics, watched all the DC animated features and films and movies, long before Batman 1989 came out, or in addition to Batman 1989, which changed everything for Batman and how it was looked at. Those people who actually followed DC, who followed Superman, Batman, maybe didn't know much about Wonder Woman, but followed Superman, Batman, The Flash, right? Maybe don't know too much about Green Lantern because Green Lantern wasn't featured that much in DC until much later. Okay? Batman and Robin and all those stuff. Even before Batman 1989 came out, the darker version of Batman, they were real fans. I remember watching and reading Justice League comics and Superman comics, and I didn't read so much Wonder Woman comics when I was growing up. I read more Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk, Thor comics. I also, because my uncle had a whole stockpile of comics, with DC, we have also, people don't talk much about this, but DC was also involved with things like He-Man, and it wasn't DC at the time, but it's now DC. He-Man, and we have there's so many other DC characters that we don't talk a lot about these days, but they are there, and I say this to say that James Gunn's a typical guy who didn't really read DC comics like that, wasn't deep and steeped in DC lore. The guy who's steeped in DC lore is Zack Snyder, and he had people to help him out. James Gunn's not steeped in DC. Clearly, he's not steeped in. He doesn't understand Superman, which is sad because they're all praising him and saying, "Oh, this is the guy that understands Superman." And he keeps on bloopering every single step of the way. He can't even follow the comics. He tries to find obscure villains and obscure things so that he doesn't have to follow the comics. He could create his own version of things because the characters are so obscure. That's why he's doing second-tier villains and second-tier heroes. Okay? So, John Baker says the downgrade in quality and tone is insane. And then S.S. Solomon says, why are superheroes in black and white? Now, when you hear somebody say something stupid like that, you know that these people haven't watched much comic book movies. They may have watched little manga and anime, and they may have even watched some of the later, funny, gun-like stuff. In other words, they started watching DC maybe in 2024 or 2023. They weren't watching DC before that. And I also think that these people who are talking are also people who they're on the executive payroll of Warner Brothers. And I also think, or buts, and I also think that the people who are saying these stupid comments, clearly, they're not movie watchers, or they don't watch movies. They will probably watch Marvel because that's the popular thing, but they're not watching anything else. Anthony Mason says some of the best cinematography in film history is shot in black and white. It's a film first and cape shit second. Imagine complaining about the tone not bright enough without seeing the storyline. It's like complaining black and white comic books without care about the content itself. And so on and so on. And this guy, they go to town on this guy. And John Baker just says simply, because justice is gray. Landon O'Leary says, TL cleanse since they don't have the balls to make a Lewis Lane poster. So there you have the posters of the two Lewis Lanes, TV show and otherwise. And you can just tell, you can feel it palpably that the people who actually love DC, they're just raring to see this movie fail. Like there's so much venom out there. There's so many people out here who hate what is going on. All right? Of all the people to head DC, you put James Gunn there, Warner Brothers. And what does he do? What's the first thing he does? He fires Henry Cavill. Then, this is the guy who then removes Ben Affleck. Then he shuts down the whole DCEU. So nobody has nothing to look forward to. Starts reshaping in this comedy, Peacemaker, which is just degrading the Justice League nonstop, degrading Superman, bashing Superman. Then the first thing in a Superman movie we see is Superman in a dirty, stained suit, and outside there's all kinds of chaos and comments going on. He's not even there. Then the first video we get of Superman, he's being slammed into the ground and mistreated by people. And we realize almost instantaneously James Gunn can't help himself. He just got to hate on these characters. And it looks like he's going to do a movie where he's going to hate on Superman a lot. He's got Superman as the butt of the jokes with Krypto. Krypto's behaving unnaturally. Dogs don't do that. When they see their owners hurt, they don't behave like that. And Krypto just abandons him once he drops him off. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I know, I'm not asking you, I know. DC fans can't wait for July 11th to come out. They can't wait. All these bots and trolls and gunts that come on and try to spam a feed where they see a lot of traction happening, a lot of people liking these feeds. Man, I can't wait for them to be quiet. I really can't. Because everything that's wrong with DC is happening now. And one of the major indicators, as you guys know, is seeing the stock of Warner Brothers. Everything that Gunn puts out there, the stock doesn't even move. In fact, it drops. And that's an ominous sign for DC. That's an ominous sign for Warner Brothers Pictures. They've been successful with, certain films that came out recently, and they're hoping to ride that wave of success into Superman. I gotta say, if Gunn didn't do what he did in the past, this movie might have had remote success. What I mean by that is, it would probably have made back its budget at least. That's not going to happen. The vitriol, the hate, the disgust for what is happening at DC right now is going to show when this movie comes out. And no matter what that studio tries to do, it may try and pad, it might try and buy out cinemas and put people in seating and stuff like that. Might give out free tickets and like they can do whatever they want. This movie is going to fail. Even if Kevin Feige is behind this, it's going to fail. Why? Because you're not going to grab the audience that looks and supports DC. And I can tell you right now, the Marvel fans, they're not interested in this movie either. There's Fantastic Four and there is Jurassic Park. They'll support those movies. You're not going to get them to support Superman. And no matter how much hype you tried to drum up, no matter how much buzz you try to drum up, this movie is dead, dead, dead. And I'll tell you why. It's simple. The people who you should have been catering to, Warner Brothers, who would have drummed up the hype for this movie, who would have drummed up the interest for this movie, you mistreated them. First of all, you never gave them what they wanted. They asked for it since 2021, restore the Snyderverse. You never listened to them. You mistreated them. And then after that, you vilified them. You vilified them, letting James Gunn say all kinds of crap about us. Then you fired Henry Cavill after everyone was so excited about where DC might have gone. And even if some people would have been content, even if Zack Snyder didn't come back, Henry gets to do a Superman movie. Then we find out the guy who was directing Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise would have been in that movie. You know how people feel right now. Then, if that's not enough, not only do you sabotage The Batman, and we don't know if there's going to be a sequel or not, but on top of that, you sabotage Joker too. Todd Phillips should never have done a sequel. And you made this guy put out a sequel that had everybody flaming mad. So you keep on bloopering and bloopering and bloopering, and the fans just keep on getting angry and angry about DC because nothing is successful in DC. Not even the films that are not even associated with the universe are successful. And since James Gunn, nothing good has come of DC. You want to talk about the TV shows and Peacemaker and what Flagman or whatever the fuck his name is. None of that stuff is working out. None of it. Meanwhile, while the toys are not selling for Superman, the only thing that's selling probably for Superman is Crypto and Superman. That combination, or Crypto the dog, it's selling for Superman. Superman has to always be partnered with Crypto. And we don't know how that will sell after the movie comes out. The way how Crypto was behaving in that movie sucked ass. But let's just go with it. Let's say, okay, Crypto and Superman selling. The version of Superman that you intended to do, it's the most crappy version of Superman we've ever seen, ever. It's the ugliest Superman we've ever seen when it comes to suits. Meanwhile, a 9-year-old film, McFarlane Toys is selling it out. A character from a 9-year-old film, Jeremy Irons' Alfred, which everybody loved Jeremy Irons' Alfred in BVS. You know, it is what it is. But the point is, it's selling out. While Superman toys are on the shelves, sitting down there, people are talking about buy one, get one free. We're going to lower the cost of the thing. Jeremy Irons' Alfred, a 9-year-old film, is sold out. You go from a sure hit with Zack Snyder to nothing. Since Zack Snyder's Snyderverse, since Aquaman, no movie has passed any amount. No movie has passed BVS except for Aquaman and Joker. And no movie has made the kind of money that Zack Snyder's 3 movies combined have made. And believe you me, Zack Snyder's Justice League made money, even though it never went into cinemas. Made more money Then James Gunn, The Suicide Squad. And it never saw cinemas. People again, Zack Snyder's Justice League. 4 films I would kill to watch in IMAX theater. Let's go through it. On Metahumans, last I checked, Lois Lane doesn't have any meta about her. But a Superman robot does. Show me the human in the robot. What did they take? They took a human brain and put it in the robot? And a meta dog. I guess a meta dog. What's that? I mean, come on now. Stupid. I want to show you how stupid these people are. I mean, they are stupid. Oscar J. Garcia says, I just hate right after his dad almost tells him it would have been better to not do anything. I get it, though. It's a movie. I just wouldn't like it if my dad told me something similar to that. The logic and reasoning Jonathan Kent gave to Clark was literally ripped from Superman #1 comic. So facts supersede your feelings. His father said, now listen to me, Clark. This great strength of yours, you've got to hide it from people or they'll be scared of you. But when the proper time comes, you must use it to assist humanity. You must keep that side of yourself a secret, which was the whole point Jonathan Kent was giving to Clark Kent. Jur Kali dude says, yeah, but that loser Superman let his own dad die. If I had powers and could save my dad, I would every single time without question, whether he wanted me to do it or not. He could be mad all he wants, he would still be alive, and that scene took me out of the movie. I said you would be a lab rat for the rest of your days, manipulated by the US government and your tissue harvested for all sorts of weaponized programs, very much like Zod was by Lex Luthor. And you still wouldn't have known where you came from or who you are. You may have turned a villain. In other words, Clark didn't know who he was, where he came from, none of that stuff. Yet here is this jackass saying that he would just jump impulsively to save his father. He would disregard everything his father said, jump impulsively and save him, and then study about consequences after, that the government would come down on him. They would use military might to subdue him, because obviously he does not know the extent of his powers. And then they would harvest him for his organs and other parts of him. They would find ways to harvest him and use him as a tool, as a weapon. This is not rocket science. Hence the reason Jonathan Kent told Clark to let him die. People would be afraid of him if he declared himself to the world, and truly, when he did declare himself to the world, he ended up getting killed. So I don't understand the stupidity of these people when they try to counter these statements that are made. And it's just one of those things where you just wonder. Mercurial says, only problem with this scene, and it's a Gunt, of course, is that he didn't know how to fly yet. Oh, this is when he's saving the kids. If that's the case, that means he was pushing off the ground with his feet. And if that's the case, the ground below the water is nowhere near deep enough for an entire length of a bus to go under. He shows he can swim, saving Pete Ross, I answer. He's super strong. Pushing that bus upwards at first does not require his feet touching the ground because he'd be swimming, motherfucker. Later, he does, but he doesn't need that to begin pushing the bus upwards. A fundamental flaw in your reasoning. Good thing Kevin Costner didn't get his way. Laughing out loud. Worst part of this movie is how they dealt with his childhood and parents. Worst part is the god-awful version of Lois Lane. Rebel Snap is this jackass's name. I'm sorry for my arrogance, but he's a jackass. First of all, Kevin Costner did get his way because as he stopped Clark from saving him, obviously he wasn't paying attention. And the worst part, according to you, is how his mother consoles him in his pubescent panic attack so he wouldn't turn evil. And his father supporting his restraint when he was bullied. Yeah. Yeah, poor parenting. For sure. That's because they haven't watched Brightburn. Let them watch Brightburn and see how horrible parenting is and what happens to a child if you parent them wrong with that kind of power. Lewis tracks him down as an investigative journalist, but yeah, she's awful too. I mean, I don't understand these people and how stupid they are, but they are. What's the streak of quarterly losses at this point? Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders have symbolically voted against David Zaslav's $52 million pay package. Nearly 60% think he's overpaid. Yeah, because he's doing a shitty job of running Warner Brothers right now, and he's running it right into the ground. He's a fucking clown. And he's a Israeli American. He's a Zionist. He's a fucking Zionist clown. So that's how much. Anyways, let's just keep it going. Gun cultists explaining how Superman is a metahuman and not an alien, and how Krypton the dog is somehow a metahuman, but not Martian Manhunter or Lobo. Oh, God, my God. All right. I just wanted to go all the way in with Restore the Snyderverse. Warner Brothers with a budget of $363 million. Zack Snyder with an iPhone in his backyard. You got to be in love with the camera, and Zack is in love with the camera. Hell of a director, Zack Snyder. You know, he's there with Ridley Scott, with Christopher Nolan, with a lot of guys. The thing is, his messaging in Hollywood, the Zionists and CIA and Mossad, they don't like that message, you know. And they're trying to quiet him. They're trying to get him away from the theater. They're trying to get him away from DC, which is a tremendously watched property. But people love DC and they love Zack Snyder. You know, Jay Oliver, beautiful DC, you know, person, did so much DC animated features. You look at the collection of DC animated films, you know, Zack Snyder's following in line with that, you know. So it's, you know, it is what it is. The downgrade in quality and tone is insane. Yash, read a comic, says, what I read comics for versus what people who never read a comic think they are like. Exactly. So, you know, if you've read any DC comics, you know that Zack Snyder is completely in line with that. After James Gunn, he's changed up DC a bit. He's got the Suicide Squad. He's got some shitty shit that he's doing. It's just shit. And, you know, just tearing down DC pretty much. But what, you know, DC animation has been doing in their movies, I've been completely in line with what DC is about and what Zack has been doing. And it is what it is, you know. I'm going to pivot a little bit into some other stuff. But first, there's Vinny again showing his love for restoring the Snyderverse. And I listened to these gunts echo the sentiment of when we were trying to get the Snyder Cut and talking about we'll never get Henry Cavill will never come back and this will never happen. He will never restore the Snyderverse. And I'm like, why? Why not? You know your movie's gonna flop, right? Your movie's gonna fucking flop. And then after that, Warner Bros. Is gonna be in a quandary and they're gonna have to wonder if they should follow the mandate that the fans said or if they will try to go in another direction and they will get their heads bounced again. The truth is that a lot of DC fans, it's not just Snyder fans now, their wallets are closed. They're not interested in going to see this movie. They're not going to go see it. Why? Because, one, they don't like James Gunn. Two, they've been mistreated. And even the DC fans who are fans of Superman and Lewis, DC fans who used to come at Snyder fans and say Henry Cavill Superman, they're offended. Gunn has offended just about every single fan in DC. The only people riding with him are the Gunts. They're Gunn fans. They like his movies. They're the only people riding with him. He has isolated himself and isolated the people who are willing to ride and die with him, which is just not enough. And that's why Superman movie, no matter how much advertising they do, no matter what people are paid to say in the industry, it's going to fucking flop. It's going to flop just like The Flash. And then, after that happens, we're going to hit them with Restore the Snyderverse. We're going to hit them day and night with Restore the Snyderverse until they do. Or the company is sold off. Because Warner Bros. Is not going to be able to survive that blow. They're not going to be able to survive it. And we are just biding our time waiting for January the 11th. We are in the month of June. It's not too far away. Warner Bros. Stock has not gotten past $10. Can't even rise above $10 anymore. The stock is telling us everything we need to know. One thing about business, it don't lie. And right now, Warner Bros. Business is about to go under. And Damian Anton Vincent, this one's for you. Shout out to Damian. You're going to be able to buy Warner Bros. Stock for $5 a share. It's going to happen. I'm going to talk about Free Palestine, but I wanted to take my time to go into that. This is the Free Palestine segment, and I'm going to try and go through it as quickly as possible. Now, you tell me, why is there massive bombing in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip? Why are you bombing the shit out of the southern Gaza? You know there's civilians there. You know you're killing a bunch of civilians there. You clearly ain't going after Hamas. That ain't Hamas. Hamas is not all over that place right there. You're bombing big buildings. You're taking down the buildings in Khan Yunis. Western Holocaust looks like this, says Abraham. I am 100% behind you, brother. It's clear what this is. This is a genocide. This is ethnic cleansing. This is not about fucking Hamas. It's so clear as day now.
He shows up, he mouths the words full of condemnation and being appalled. And very occasionally the government leaks out just enough sanctions, frankly, I'm afraid, colleagues, to keep the Labour benches from open revolt. And yet, since he last appeared, as others have mentioned, 22 new settlements announced. And the Israeli government has replaced the UNRWA distribution system with a shooting gallery, an abattoir, where starving people are lured out through combat zones to be shot at. If the situation were reversed, we would now be mobilizing, quite rightly mobilizing, the British Armed Forces as part of an international protection force. So here's my question. What's the difference?
Minister.
Powerful. And this is happening in the UK British Parliament, and he is 100% correct. This guy should get slapped for even trying to answer those questions. And it's clear that the Western governments are all in coup with the Israeli. And this is the Nazi Holocaust dressed up in the form of the Star of David or the Star of Rephaim. Okay? The state of Israel needs to be dismantled, just like how the state of Germany was dismantled. And certain people need to be put into the Hague. And this will happen. You have brought it to this point where these officials, they have no choice but to bow to you. You put pressure on this. It's you that did this. Okay? And they're trying to come around and say X, Y, and Z. I couldn't give a fuck what they say. I don't care about politicians. They're all like game show hosts to me. I told you guys this a long time ago. And I promise you, we're coming for every last one of these motherfuckers. And we're going to see them tried, and we're going to see them prosecuted. And whether it's in The Hague, wherever. But they will not be allowed to walk in any country, look us in the face. We have the right to spit in their face and shame them and make sure that they have the mark of Cain on them, that anywhere they go, they're blacklisted. Any of these soldiers that have been involved in this, their names need to be put up. And I'm going to say, there's the Hind Foundation, the Rajiv Hind Foundation, that is noting all of these things. And so all of this has been documented. So this is not something that we have to worry about. It's documented. And if it takes 10 years, if it takes 15 years, if it takes 20 years, we'll get every last one of these motherfuckers. We're hunting them down. We're coming for you. You think I was fucking playing? You think this is a fucking game? You think you can just use people's lives and play with them? Every president, every head of state will have to stand up before the people and plead their defense. And may the people have no mercy. Executed children shot in the head. This is Israel. That's a child shot in the head. They found the dead body, and they're bringing it back in. They've been killing children. After civilians reached an area in Bet Lahia, they discovered 3 unidentified children executed by Israeli forces near Abbas Kalini. Due to the location's danger and lack of ambulances, only 1 body was retrieved. Do you remember her? She's the mother who wept bitterly last year when she identified her son's body in a mass grave inside of Nasser Hospital. Today, the scene is repeated, but in larger form. This time, the child, Ahmed, cries for her. Koj, my brother. Shout out to Koj. Channel dedicated to glorifying ethnic cleansing. It literally is, not a hot take. Check out their words, their view on Palestinian civilians.
האסון הזה?
אני לא נרדם טוב בלי שאני רואה בתים קורסים בעזה. מה אני אעשה? עוד בתים, עוד מגדלים, שלא יהיה להם לאן לחזור.
This TV channel
אנחנו צריכים שיקרה האסון הזה כדי להבין שהפלסטינים זאת קבוצה מיותרת, כדי להבין שיכול להיות שמה שהם צריכים זה נכבה 2.
אתה רואה אזרחים? לפתוח באש, בוודאי, הם לא אזרחים. אני חושב שבפעם הראשונה כשאנחנו רואים את התמונות של ההפצצות, של הבניינים ושל הגופות מעזה, בפעם הראשונה אני לפחות אומר, who cares, זה לא מספיק, זה לא מעניין, זה צריך להיות הרבה יותר חזק. שבעזרת השם עזה תהיה הריביירה של
So what it's showing is certain sections of the Israeli public have been sharing on this. It's not just a sentiment of the government, but it's also a sentiment of settlers. It's also a sentiment of a significant portion of the population who is racist and disgusting. And that's what you're seeing. And I want you guys to keep note of this because I'm not playing around. We're coming for all of them. Every last one of these motherfuckers. We're coming for you, you Satan worshipping sons of shit. We're coming for you. Now you see the world is seeing the veil pulled from their eyes. Listen to this very carefully.
Cleansing. How do you work for a government that is being described as carrying out acts in this way?
I work for this government with pride because we are defending our nation and this false charge of genocide, which you all there know to be false. This false charge, this modern day blood libel. You know, they used to say that Jews killed Christian children to use their blood to make our Passover unleavened bread. These days they say that Israel is committing a genocide, and that leads to real attacks on Jews. real attacks on Jews. There was one in Colorado just a couple of days ago, and just in the last couple of weeks, that dreadful attack on two workers at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. There is one way to end this war tomorrow. Hamas must release every one of our hostages, lay down its arms, surrender. Until then, we will keep fighting with pride, in accordance with international law, with force, and with principle, because we believe in humanitarian principles. You, unfortunately, have decided to side with. Yes, I will cast aspersions. You have decided to side with a terrorist organization. Shame on you.
Okay, David Menzer, spokesperson of the Israeli government. Plenty more to come in the next step.
Shut his ass down. By the way,
Martin Griffiths, former UN.
I must say, even what's this guy? Piers Morgan even went in on an Israeli lawyer and really just tore her apart because of the bullshit that she was saying. Nobody's buying the bullshit anymore. And we're taking action. We're not here just to walk around the streets striking. I got a couple things I got to say to people though, but before I do that, in Haaretz, there's an opinion piece that says, my sobering up moment. At first, I felt nothing in the face of Palestinian suffering in Gaza, but when I saw the graphic images of children being torn apart by Israeli bombings, I was released from the narrative of exclusive Israeli suffering. That's somebody in an Israeli piece. People are, of course, when wars go on and on, people are going to turn from them, obviously, and see how ugly they are. And you can't maintain it. They're trying to ethnically cleanse Jerusalem and Palestine and the West Bank and East Jerusalem and Gaza. They're trying to do that. Meanwhile, they're also taking grounds in Syria. They're destroying and bombing Lebanon. Nobody's talking about that shit. The Houthis keep on bombing their ass. The Houthis haven't backed down. They're still doing what they do. Iraq has joined with Iran in condemning what is happening. The surrounding nations are more and more beginning to realize this is bullshit that they're doing. Israel is the rogue state. Israel is the one waging war with the nations around it. I'm going to come to that right now. I'm actually going to talk. You're going to hear the truth on so many different fronts. So here we go.
It's as we have learned.
Hold on a second.
About this, especially the situation on the ground is extremely chaotic, and it's as we have learned before about this, especially with this aid distribution mechanism. In fact, what is happening in these new militarized distribution points, it's more about the humiliation and the control of the people. We are seeing the people, thousands of people are standing from the early hours in the morning to secure something to their starving children. And in such cases, it's rare even to get actually the supplies. And now they are facing the issue of returning home alive. So we are considering these points as a death traps, and we are seeing shooting of starving people near to this sites, especially what's happened in Rafah as they're reporting that. It's horrifying. And
the other thing is they're also poisoning the food because it's going through. It's not going through the United Nations. It's going through U.S. Israeli NGOs. So they're doing all kinds of evil to the people of Palestine. They're shooting them as they get their food and stuff like that. It's death traps. And these fucking people, man, they're just so disgusting. I mean, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say, anyway, hold on. Let's just keep it going. Noctis Draven says, my friends, so many of you have become angry at me for defending Palestine and Gaza. You're angry because I believe Palestinians are God's true people. And I do too. They're all of us are God's children. I believe this because Christ himself was born in Palestine. This is a historical fact. But Jesus, Jesus wasn't a warmonger. That's the thing about Jesus, This little girl, they called her Hamas. This girl,
11-year-old had shared tips for surviving in Gaza's youngest influencer has died. Yakin Hamad was killed during a series of heavy Israeli airstrikes. Her body found under the rubble of the house where she lived with her family. The 11-year-old had shared tips for surviving in a war zone to her 107,000 followers on Instagram, saying she wanted to bring joy to other children and help them forget the conflict. Gaza
Anyone remember the smiling demon from the Biden administration, Matthew Miller, the guy whose job for an entire year was to tell us that what we saw in front of our eyes in Gaza was actually not happening? And if it was happening, then it wasn't against international law. And if it was against international law, well, then it was being investigated. And if it had been being investigated for 9 months at this point, why don't you just shut up? Turns out he himself believes without a doubt that Israel committed war crimes in Gaza. Of course, he's only saying this now that he's safely out of the reaches of power, because when he did have power, when he was the spokesperson for the only administration in the world with the power to make this genocide stop, he was vociferously defending it every single day, knowing that he was lying his ass off and doing it anyway because job security comes before humanity. These people are careerists.
Let's not forget he was enjoying doing that as well. He would snicker and laugh. So he's a demonic guy, and he will pay. Trust me, he will pay for lying to us. He will pay. We're coming for his ass. That's for sure. All right, let's talk a little bit about the ADL. We're going to expose a couple of things here. All right, here we go.
In our homeland. In our homeland, Eretz Israel.
What brought you here, Jonathan?
I'm here to stand with the people of Israel. I'm Israel Chai. In our homeland, Eretz Israel. In our homeland, Eretz Israel. In our homeland, Eretz Israel. I mean, there is no argument anymore that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. So what do we, the global Jewish community in Israel, need to do? We've got to start doing things differently. And the same goes here in Israel. Maybe it's a whole new IDF unit, call it 8300, to lead this fight. But we need the kind of genius that manufactured Apollo gold pagers and infiltrated Hezbollah for over a decade to prepare for this battle.
You go fight Iran. You go form an army and fight Iran. You go to Israel and fight Hamas. We are American people. It's not our problem. And you're not going to convince us otherwise. We're done. Israel has been convincing us that their issues and their enemies in the Middle East are ours since the 80s. And all it's done is cost us trillions of dollars and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of American lives. We are done. The deception.
Cool. So first of all, yeah. You see this asshole Greenblatt, who's Lex Luthor? We're coming for your ass, motherfucker. And all the people that you work for. And all the people that you work with. You're a fucking Nazi in the present day. And we're coming for you. And all this anti-Semitic shit and laws, we're coming for you motherfuckers that made those laws and agreed to it. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, we're coming for your fucking ass. You think we're playing, motherfucker? You're about to understand what's really up. See, we know what it is now. We know what it is. It's like light and day now. And we're coming for you. The dogs are coming for you. They're coming to rip you apart. We're coming for you, motherfucker. We'll try you in a court of law. And we'll prosecute you. And that starts with Donald Trump. Go all the way down. All you motherfuckers are going to get it. Because you agreed. You were complicit in it. We're going to tear you down. The people coming for you. We're coming for you. I promise you that. That's a promise.
by now the leaked audio video of AIPAC's 2025 summit. Elliot Brandt himself admitting how he controls the administration's national security advisors. This is a threat to our democracy. Elliot Brandt is the new CEO of AIPAC, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, taking the reins at the end of 2024 after nearly 30 years with the organization. He is the one that's steering AIPAC's massive political operation. In the leaked recording from AIPAC's congressional summit, Brandt brags about cultivating relationships and alliances with Trump's administration's top national security advisors, folks like Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, and John Ratcliffe, to make sure that they follow Israel's agenda. He literally describes these people as AIPAC's lifelines in the administration. So why does this matter to all of us? When a foreign interest lobby whispers in the ears of our top national security advisors, it means U.S. policy on Iran, on Gaza, on military aid, is not driven by American interests. It's driven by whatever Brandt and his board want. Under Brandt, AIPAC has poured hundreds of millions of dollars to oust progressive Democrats like Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, who dared to question AIPAC's influence. That's not grassroots democracy. That's AIPACracy. And this undermines accountability. When Brandt bragged that he can access internal Trump White House discussions, it confirmed what many of us feared. Our elected leaders can't speak freely on Israel without risking AIPAC's wrath. And that's a direct attack on free debate. So if you believe in free elections and open debate.
Oh, we believe in much more than that. We believe in the will of the people. And we're coming for those motherfuckers. They don't know. They don't understand. See, it's only a few of them. It's many of us. And we run the fucking countries of the world. Without us, countries can't run. And as I said before, you know the strategy, people. Go get them now. It's your turn to take action. See, they think they're all powerful and they can wave their thing and they got people of influence. What happens when your people of influence are one by one going to prison? That happened in the last Trump administration. And it's about to happen again. And this time, we're not stopping. We're taking down Democrats, Republicans, and anybody that comes in the way of the will of the people. Our mandate is this. Just like with Restore the Snyderverse, we have a mandate. Our mandate is a free Palestine. Not only a free Palestine, a free Libya, a free Syria, a free Lebanon, a free Iraq, a free Sudan, a free Somalia, a free Egypt. Not only that, a free America, where you're not, the ICE officials that are are kidnapping people and having them in concentration camps. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. You see, you don't understand. You do not understand when we speak to you. You feel you understand. You think you're in power. You think you have some kind of capacity. You had to infiltrate us. We are the fucking majority. We are the veterans. We are the soldiers. We are the intelligent agents. We are the lawyers, the judges, the police. You fucking fucked up. We are the FEMA agents. You are going against us. We are the muscle. We are the executors. We are the revenue generators. You fucked up. We asked you to do one fucking thing, which was take care of our country. Take care of the countries of the world. You couldn't do that. You're so fucking greedy and so fucking corrupt. And you're willing to kiss the devil's ass. So we're coming for you. Every last one of us. You have become the public enemy number one, and not one of you will escape us. You can imprison, you can kill, you can stab. How many of us you want? We have sheer fucking numbers. We already are 4 billion strong and counting. We're coming for you. The truth's out there. You can't cover it up. You can't hide it anymore. Now it's time of action. Our turn. Donald Trump is an ass. He's trying to go against a multipolar world. I want to show you something. Trump, other countries and their leaders know if I'm president, they can't mess with us. They respect me too much. United Kingdom. Hey, Donald Trump. Ooh, I want to know. Why are you such a cunt? Here we go. Yeah, that's the entire of a UK. See, what they don't understand, they don't get it. They think they can stop. They bring in their enforcers, they bring in their military. We got military. We got enforcers. We got protectors. The fuck you think you are? You think they're gonna listen to you or they're gonna listen to us? You got it all fucking twisted, you motherfuckers. And you're not even the majority. You know, it would be interesting if you were a majority, then we couldn't do shit. We're the fucking majority. The fuck you think you are? The Palestinian pavilion in Japan is amazing. Palestine is a place of rich culture and history. Yeah. Federal agents are in Minneapolis. It's getting physical. Lake Street is one of my favorite spots. They try to clamp down on people who are protesting in Minneapolis. I'm going to say this one last time. If you're going to do any protest in the United States of America, it's very dangerous now. You need to have people versed in combat and in how to de-escalate situations. That means you need to employ your veterans, the people you have abandoned in this country. You need to get your veterans front line, treat them well. These are people who are combat ready. They can handle the situation. There's no reason why federal agents or any kind of agent whatsoever should be physically manhandling any civilian. Not a single civilian should be manhandled. You have your veterans. You have people who are sympathetic to what is happening, and they will provide their services of protection. Okay? So that this does not happen. There are peaceful protests, and anytime something starts to happen, these guys are on it. Okay? You have tactical people. You have all kinds of people. Civilians should not be harassed by sheriffs and police and agents if there's an agreement for a protest to happen. Okay? So, and regardless, if the civilians are doing what they do, remember, the civilians pay for these motherfuckers' jobs. These guys get paid by the civilians, the taxpayers. So if they're playing up their fucking ass and going against the public, remember, it's your money. You're financing these motherfuckers. They need to stay in line. They work for you. Okay? Okay, here we go.
Its neighbors. Iran has never attacked a neighbor. Israel has repeatedly attacked its neighbors. Iran signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel has refused to sign. Iran submits to inspection by the International Nuclear Energy Agency. Israel refuses to submit. Iran has no nuclear weapons. Israel has between 75 and 400 nuclear weapons. So Israel poses an existential threat to Iran. For the last 40 years, Israel has conducted a systematic campaign of disinformation about Iran. Why the lies? Why the double standards? Why the hypocrisy?